Peace. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just doing some work. I'm hoping that this new iMac is up to standard. Yeah, man. I got mixed feelings about Apple products. I don't know how to use shit else these days. So I gotta fill in these. I gotta fill in some throw-in samples today, man. So I'm dusting off the SP-1200. I got these custodian beats. Y'all are welcome to join me for the next, hour. I'm going to be chopping up some samples, but more importantly, I'm going to be pressure testing to make sure that the damn internet is going to work a little bit better with this new computer. I don't know. Those of you that know me, you know that I'm an old head when it comes to technology, man. So I'm not fucking with these computers in a way that I'm real comfortable with, I don't like recording on them. First of all, I definitely don't like editing on them, and I don't like relying on them for memory, because I upload shit or I select a song, and then half the damn files will be not there or missing or something. I'm always on some guy shit. You know what I mean? Whenever I'm fucking with the computer. And that's not really it's not something I really like to do. It didn't used to be a part of my workflow. You know what I mean? So anyway, what I got to do really today is I got a nice little custodian groove. That shit's playing from a phone, because I don't know if this is permitted. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, there we go. Anyway, I gotta find some. I got some throw-in samples I gotta find. So I might deal with the shit like in a way where I might deal with the shit where I'm gonna take the shit right from a record. Because throughout the court, I'm doing this EP, just like a post-retirement little EP, from San Francisco, just for my peeps back home, and anybody else is down with my shit. And it's short, it's like 15 minutes, so I gotta find these little samples, just throw in samples. Like I got Chuck D, and I want to take this other little joint from Fat Joe, a couple little vocals, because I like to throw in a little shit during the rhyme if I'm like back up with an MC or some shit like that. That's something somebody said in the past. I like to like go that extra mile with the shit, So now I got to chop up some samples. It's not really a big fucking deal, but the issue is that I've got this new iMac that I can't show you because I'm being recorded by the iMac, and I'm not quite sure how to use everything yet. So this should be fun. Anyway, I got a sound card. It's a little outdated, but apparently it's still getting along. What else you got here? I need my Nation of Millions record for something. Bass! How low can you go? Is this shit? Look at the mouse they gave me, man. There we go. So I can't see shit here on my interface. So I don't know if y'all are watching or anybody's watching or not. Let me get set up. Yo, peace. Germany. Yeah, man. I helped. I don't want to take total credit, but I helped my man Sebastian from Hamburg
learn how to use an SP-1200. You know, I mean, he's a great producer in his own right. It's not like I taught him how to produce. He just he was using an MPC, I think 2500, and he always wanted to go vintage. And so I kind of taught him like the ins and outs of how to use the machine and, you know, squeeze it for its memory and all that stuff. So yeah, I know German heads are really into that stuff, man. I got buddies out there who, it seems like I know a lot more people from Germany that have like the old equipment than I do from the United States anymore, as it happens, you know? So yeah, I'm just taking something from Night of the Living Bass Heads here. I just got a bass. Oh, can you go? And you know, that's kind of just a common little hip hop sample from back in the day. It's not like a big deal, but I got to take that. I need to like fill these. There's something in here? Oh shit! I guess there's already something in the.
One day.
I must have been using, yeah, see, so that's exactly what I'm doing. This disc must have had some shit on it that I was dropping some just, you know, I don't know, samples of rappers into a track somebody else produced or something, because this isn't one of my beats or anything. So what I got to do today is I got to find about 7 or 8 different hip-hop records and get a couple little bass, and I got some other shit, third bass from a third bass record. I want to get the bass sound they used to use. I got to get Joey Crack. Crack. I got to get him saying crack. And I got to get, shit. I got to get Big Daddy Kane. What's that? You keep on. I'm trying to remember that. You know, stop. You know, quit. You know, stop. You keep on. I'm wondering if that's rhyming with Biz. Yeah, artistical. Give party people something funky to listen to. So I got to go get. I forget what old. I'm getting old, man. I forget what Kane record that's from. But I got to get him saying some shit. So I got to get special ed from I Got It Made. So all these little samples I got to throw in during like a couple of joints that I'm going to be doing, and I got to find the old ass records and, you know, dig them up for my hip hop collection, and then take. Sorry, man, y'all got to forgive me. I'm trying to read all these messages. This shit is giving me hold potentially inappropriate message. Chat messages will be flagged. Huh. What the fuck, dude? All right, yeah. There we go. Streaming tips. Oh, they're trying to teach me how to do this shit better. Good luck. So yeah, if I can't get this turntable shit together today, because I got a 2-year-old son, and he keeps finding a way to take this off and like rip the little band out. You know, my turntable game isn't really great to begin with, and so he's running in here and fucking with it. It's just when you don't fuck with this equipment for long periods of time, your shit just gets all unplugged. But yeah, by the end of today, I'm trying to figure out if I can do this streaming the way I used to, just straight up using the computer. I'm going to go back and look at it and see how it looks, because when I used to stream doing the arcade videos a couple of years ago with my old computer, I would notice that the shit would be all kinds of fucked up. But I would go back and look at it later. It's like the lips are moving all over the place. I don't know if it's my internet connection or if it's a thing, but if I ever want to do live streams, I want to make sure I know what the hell I'm doing beforehand and afterhand. So, you know, I already established that I don't completely know what I'm doing beforehand. So this is interesting. I got this record. This is right with my Public Enemy. I pulled it out too because I noticed it. I actually got this signed by your boy Prince Paul in Berkeley. I don't know, maybe a year, not quite a year ago, like 8 or 9 months ago. And it was a real like intimate thing. There wasn't that many people there. And I had met him in the past in Philly, you know, many years ago, around the time they were doing that joint. Shit. It was before Handsome Boy Modeling School. It was when they were doing the damn, it was when he was doing the one with Biz and Kane and everybody together. They were doing the other Prince Among Thieves, right? I met him at that time. And then that was like before the shit was done. It was like when they were passing out a VHS tape, like a VHS tape that just had the video that had like, you know, I don't know, Kane was in the video. I know Biz was in the video. A couple other, was Chub Rock. But yeah, anyway, Prince Among Thieves, they had a videotape that they were passing out as a promotional thing in Philly. And it was like a big deal. Everybody was like, oh man, this flick is going to come out. And it's going to be kind of like what everybody said Bobby Digital was going to be, you know, but it's going to have all these premier rappers from the late 80s, in early 90s, which at this point was like 10 years ago. It's going to have all these guys in this whole Prince Paul production, same dude who did all these De La albums and Stetsasonic. It was supposed to be like this huge hip hop thing, man. And, it just seemed like it fizzled out and nobody knows what the hell happened to it. I asked him directly, what had happened to it. And apparently there was a lot more material where that came from, but it never really got greenlighted or something happened in the final execution of it. So he never got to make the flick, but I just thought that shit was interesting. And here he wrote that he's going to get me a Stead album because when I went to the record store that day, I wanted to bring one of my old Stead albums, the one I had from when I was little, and have him take a look at that and maybe sign it too. And I left the damn thing on top of the car, and I came back, the shit was gone. Anyway, bad story. So yeah, it looks like everything's working okay on y'all end. I mean, it seems like you can see me. Peace from the burbs of PA. Peace, Nev Ed. Yeah, so it looks like y'all can see me, and it looks like everything's running. I'm looking at it's back in the day when I'd be looking at the old Mac, I'd have like if I put my hand up to it, the shit would just freeze for a second and then be like, it would move. So it looks like the video and everything is running good. And then after I'm done with this, I could probably edit it, change the titles and all that. So that's good because that tells me that if I want to one of these days when I'm actually getting busy and pulling all this stuff out, to do actual beats, you know what I mean? Actually digging through samples and all that stuff. If I want to just cut this on, I can cut this on and say, hey, I'm live. And, if somebody wants to check out, as I'm digging through the records, kind of taking note of some of the records and all that stuff and the way I'm chopping the samples. I don't really have the time to do the SP-1200 videos the way I did in the past, but maybe if I'm doing these sessions, I can at least set the damn thing up the way it is now, point it at the machine, what I'm doing, and kind of narrate through it. So it won't be the same as the old days, but, when I could do a whole video with like a purpose to teach you something, but at the same time, maybe I can kind of give y'all some tips, SP-1200 wise, or if I'm using the MPC 60 eventually again and pull that out, and I can give you guys the kind of tips without having to make a big production of it, trying to set up the camera. I was using my phone before, so that means every time I'm taping, I can't take a call from anybody. You know what I mean? So it's a real pain in the ass for me. But I think that if I do it this way, I can kind of set up the machines again and get a little bit busy and kind of show you guys what I'm doing in that sense. So that's a good thing. I'm going to check when I get off with you guys. I'm going to check and see what was happening with the video and if it came out right. And so if you're somebody watching now, which there isn't very many, but if you're somebody that's coming to my channel that usually comes back and checks my videos out, and you notice that I did this live Google Hangouts without really a purpose, it just means look out for me, when I get an opportunity to, I'm going to cut this on and just be like, I'm live doing a beat. I'm live editing samples or whatever. And you guys can come and check it out, or I'll leave the Google Hangout up later so you can, if you miss it, you can always come back and check out the session or whatever that I was doing. And maybe, maybe that'll work out long term so I can do a couple more of these beat making videos because I know that's what people keep asking me for. And I haven't done a real one in like probably about almost 2 years. So anyway, that being said, I'm going to check out. I'm going to get busy here by myself until I figure out all the audio right. I don't want to sit here and bore y'all or make a fucked up video. But that being said, it looks like I'll be able to do this. So if I'm going live, I say, hey, I'm live. I'm doing a beat. I'm going live. I'm digging through samples. And I got to have it set up so I can't really do too much because I might have to be focused. I'm only have like a half hour to do a little thing. And I might have to be doing it. But I want to kind of include y'all in on it and also give cats an opportunity to come back and check out what I was doing and stuff because, you work with these old vintage machines. Not everybody knows how to use them. And, there's people that are just getting them, especially like from Germany or from the UK, and they might want to know some of the tricks. There are some, there are books for all these machines. The SP-1200 has its own book that was done a little less than 10 years ago, I think. The MPC 60 and 62 series, 3000, all those Roger Lynn machines that I love too. It's not really a book that I know of for them, but there's like a huge, vast amount of information online. So it's like I'm not telling you anything that hasn't really already been dug into, but sometimes it might be helpful to at least go over the details of it. Right now what I'm doing is I'm all set up. What I've got to do is I guess I determined that whatever was in here was some samples that I was using for some other project. So what I'm going to do is go into setup, and I'm going to go into 23. And at this point, if you wanted to, you could go through the slider 1 when you hit 23 in the setup, because that gives you further options than the ones that you see immediately right in front of you. And so you see the original options that you have, which are listed here, like write SMPTE, clear sound memory, BA 15, 16, 17. But once it gets to 23 and beyond, these are additional ones, right? RX dump, reverse the sound. And so, what I want to do right now, though, is pretty straightforward. I just want to clear all the memory, right? I see that I have 5 seconds remaining, so I want to clear it all. So I'm going to press 23, 12, clear all memory. So once I go into 23, I'm in that extended memory. I press 12, and then the machine here is saying clear all memory ? And it says Y/N. And so what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to say yes, I'll clear all the memory. So I'm going to clear all the memory. Now let me just be clear. That's not clearing all the memory that's on this disk here. That's just kind of clearing the memory in the machine. So I'm starting like off fresh. More people. Peace, man. Thank you. Yeah, I wish too, man. I used to have the thing is it's my own fault, bro. As far as the followership, I got like 10,000 followers, but about 4.5, 5 years ago, I started having kids, so when I had my daughter and I had my son, I just couldn't keep up with the shit anymore. I had a choice between, am I going to do another beat video this week, or am I going to make sure that I go on all over the shit with my, you know what I mean? I started making choices. So I had to, even though there was people watching these videos, it's not like something I'm doing for income or, I like to spread the shit for the culture and everything like that. I really do. And it's important to me. When I have a chance to, I'm going to get back at it. But I've had such a lull in my channel over like the last 4 or 5 years that a lot of my viewers they're like, fuck this dude. He's never posting. I got to go watch videos from 2011 and all that kind of stuff. I was most active back in like 2009 to 2013, 2014. So, I don't blame them. Peace, man. Yeah, and so peace, man, peace. Yeah, so I'm glad you're watching, man. But like I said, I want to apologize. I don't expect the damn people to be watching this channel and just waiting for years and years for me to get back to business, because about 4.5, 5 years ago, I had to clear it out. You know what I mean? I just had to say, all right, I got to do this like once every couple months or once when something pops up. But I do appreciate the viewership, and it would be nice to know that if I did get back and really wanted to do some organized beat videos where I'm trying to show different production theory and all that different stuff, things that I've learned from other people that they taught me, and be able to pass that on. I would love to really do that properly. I just got to really make the time for it. So thank you for saying that. I'm glad that y'all appreciate and are viewing, but at the same time, it's, on my end, I've kind of failed at being able to keep up production values, man. Think about this, man. YouTube in 2009, you could do some shit like this and put a little intro on it and exit on it, in a minute. And then you have yourself a professional video, you know what I mean? But then as time goes on, people started getting really slick with video editing at home. People found out what they were doing. And, it's just kind of like doing videos for YouTube compared to what other people are able to do pretty easily and quickly. That's just beyond my abilities, or even my level of interest, you know what I'm saying? But I would like to get back to it, when I can. So thank you. So anyway, what we were doing here is I'm clearing out the memory, because what I have to do is I have to essentially get a studio disc together. And what that means is I'm preparing to go do a session, in a studio out. It's actually local to here, right outside of Oakland. Oh, peace, Turtle. And yeah, so it's like I'm trying to go to a studio. I have a, 8-song EP I'm doing, giving away free of charge probably in the next month or so. It's mostly to Custodian Beats, Custodian Records. If you know my music, you're familiar with him. He did a lot of stuff on Black Out of 77. He's worked with a ton of people. You know what I mean? And so I'm doing some stuff on his beats that he did for an instrumental, and an instrumental EP. And so what I got to do here is I got to get these vocal samples in here, because when I go to drop my vocals, and I show up to the studio, I'm on a clock. I got to pay for it. I don't exactly have a record company paying for my stuff, because it's not really a money-making endeavor. So before I go there, I've got to complete this prep session. You know what I mean? I've got to make sure everything that's necessary to get ready is ready. And besides his beats, which I didn't produce, I'm bringing a couple of discs, and I'm going to bring my SP. And so I got to run through there. And before I lay down my vocals, there's pieces on there where I'm gonna want to have the samples already edited. So I got a couple of joints where I'm rhyming, and then I want to like throw in the samples and shit. So my whole thing is I just got to get a disc prepped with like the real precise vocal samples from these hip hop records. So when I go in there to do the session, it's not going to be like a big, oh, what do we do? Can you get on the internet and cut this and put this on? I want to have my shit ready so I can, throw it in and possibly on the first take of him running through the beat, I lay down all the samples. He does one take to just listen to what the sounds are and like get the levels on them, right? Or what's coming out of the machine and which different pieces that I put them out into, because you can put them into 8 different channels. So I'll have all that ready on my end. So when I show up, I don't go to these sessions and, waste money because this shit's expensive. You know what I mean? Even if they're charging, even if it's reasonable and it's like $60 an hour or $50 an hour, that adds up. You know what I mean? If I want to get a project done, I've got to have my shit together. So I got to do all this prep work ahead of time. I don't know how their other MCs do it, but, I don't do it like in a professional. I'm here to get money. I'm not like that. But at the same time, I'm here to save money. Like, I don't want to sit and dick around in the studio all afternoon. So I have my shit memorized, right? So when I go into the studio, it's not going to be one of those situations where I got the paper and I'm standing in the booth. Or that's old, right? I just reveal my age. A few people are standing and they got the phone in front of the booth and they're holding the phone and stuff. See, that shit, like, to me, that shit's just corny. Like, I don't know how people show up and they do that, because like the era that I come from, I'm not bragging on myself. I'm saying the people, the standard of professionalism back in the day, there wasn't any shit where it's like you're going to the studio with the paper and do it in, cut me in again. Like none of that stuff. It was like if you were professional, you showed up and you had your shit completely memorized. And at that point, when you showed up into the booth, and if you came into the studio and you had your stuff, your fucking samples were ready, your sequences were done, your song mode was completed, all that shit, right? And then like, the rapper, you're not going in there with just a mess of papers, or if you had a phone, like reading it off your phone, your shit is completely right and exact. And then on top of that, if you're in the booth, you're not in the booth trying to get your shit right. You're in the booth trying to be virtuous with it, right? Like you're in the booth, you've got your shit memorized. There's no question about it. You're in the booth seeing if you can maybe change the way you flowed on a certain line or a punchline or some shit like that. And so that's the kind of situation, that's the position I want to be in. When I show up the session, I don't want it to be like the studio engineer. And first of all, that's awkward nowadays anyway. It's just awkward as fuck to go to the studio nowadays. That's something I should probably bring up. Being old, you go to the studio, especially if somebody knows who you are in like the area, like if you're like known outside of like just showing up for your session, if like you have like deal in the public with like, if you're known in a PTA or some other shit, some other adult shit, but then you go to the session and start dropping bombs in the studio and the person, they is also a member of the community and stuff. The shit gets awkward going to the studio now being older. But so I don't like to play around with it. There's no room for having fun like that. Like, it's fun, but there's no room for just kicking back your feet like back in the day where we like, let's spark a blunt, let's go outside and smoke for like. I'm ready to go when I get there, man. I'm ready to get the fuck out of there, because it's just like, it's weird, man. It's not as much of a recreational like hangout session as it used to be for me. So I like to get prepped. So what I'm doing today is I got to fill out. I have little rules for myself, right? So there's 4 different banks, A, B, C, and D, and I know that I'm not going to fill up more than these banks, right? Because I'm only really going to take a disc worth of sounds. I don't want to get too crazy throwing in a bunch of other people's shit. I just want to have a couple little psh, psh, psh. And I like throwing those in there because it just kind of reminds the person listening. It plays to their nostalgia, right? So if I got like little lines, I forgot the pins. Jesus. Damn. See, another Miss Pac-Man emergency. But, and I got to bounce in a sec. But I like to have this completely precise, so what I'd like to do someday is like, without having to do a formal video, because I don't have, like I said, the time to do that as much anymore. What I would really like to do someday is get on here when I have some time and I'm just chilling, casual. And then when I'm doing a session like this, like maybe I'll pick up where I left off because I got to go now. But when I come back to this, maybe I'll start and say, all right, here's what it's going to be like. We're going to fill out each one of these pads with the sound and go through each sound and say, all right, well, here's how we're going to edit each sound, right? And then we're going to experiment a little bit. What if it hits a little bit close, cut it in a little bit closer, and see how that that hits, right? And then how much, and here's another game you play with the SP-1200 is like how much can you edit away, right? Like how much can you take away? Because even you take away a fraction of a second on an SP-1200, you're freeing up time for another sample. So a lot of us like to play that game where it's like how can we split this asteroid so it's just the only the amount of sound that we need in that pad, right? And so that's kind of the perspective I come to when I'm filling these up. So I like to always be aware of what my bank availability is, what my goal end is, and that's all going to be with less than 10 seconds, So when I finally put the shit together, when I'm done here in pad 1, I'm supposed to have Public Enemy from Night of the Living Bassheads is like, bass, how low can you go? Now I know that that's from another joint, but I know he sampled his own voice, they sampled Chuck's voice, a Bomb Squad, in bass. And, so that classic shit, the way that they tuned it and everything for Night of the Living Bassheads, I want to take that and pitch it up just to kind of throw it into the new joint. So I like to remember, like, oh yeah, Chuck D exists. Throw his voice in there for a second. Bass. And then later, it's rhyming bass with bass in the rhyme. So I'm going to have in this third bass, that little shit that I guess Pete Knight, whoever, Daddy Rich or whatever, put in there, that third bass. They used to use that little sample. It sounded like it was something from a baseball game or something. But anyway, they say the word bass, right? And it bass. And I'm going to have that over here. Bass, bass. Like, so that I have that in the second pad. And then as we go, I think the other one was Fat Joey Crack going crack. And I'm going to have that over here. Crack, crack, crack. So the bass, bass, crack. And then as we get over here, there's another line later on down the line where I'm going to need Big Daddy Kane. You don't stop. You keep on. He's got that real throaty. You keep on. And so, so I throw that in. Keep on. Probably chop that up. Keep on. And so I chop these up so that way the listener will hear the original sample. Like, I keep on. But then at the same time, I'll take that from on and I'll echo that shit out like So it's like a double whammy. Like, it's like you got the original sample banging in there and then you got layering on top of it. So you're showing the person that not only are you referencing, like, so think about who I'm referencing in this joint. Like, it's not that deep. But at the same time, it is, because you're adding components from a time that's past, and that's reaching out and connecting to the listener who remembers that time when they hear your joint and they hear your rhyme and they hear the little voice of their heroes from back in the day, like Kane. Because who do I got here? I got Chuck. I got not a person, but I got third bass sample. I've got Fat Joe, DITC, and then Kane I got later. And just the significance of that is it's just like throwing them back into it for a second, and then that, that connects with the rhyme, right? And that connects with the rhyme that I'm doing. So it's like, anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to you guys and I'm going to so I've got those pads filled out, and then I've got other little, and that's just one song. I'm going in there with 3 songs to do it super quick. And I always think of like the Shawn P, like a Kano rap. Like, I go in there and I try to knock out like 3 to 5 sets of vocals in once. And I'm not going to say one take, because sometimes I do got to go back, but it's not like a shitload of takes. You know what I mean? It's quick. And anyway, I have every last thing in my head planned out before it goes in this SP, right? So I know it sounds like I've been just kind of drawing on and on about the SP and the sounds I'm taking, but if there's a lesson to be had here, before I bounce, if there's a lesson to be had here, is that before I sat down and I turned on this machine, right? This whole thing happened in my head, right? I went in, I was running with my headphones on. I was listening to the beats. I sat in and I wrote the rhymes in my head. I memorized the rhymes before they touched the paper. I memorized the rhymes as they came to me. And then I accented while I was writing the rhymes. As an MC, I actually said, I want Chuck there. I want this there. So when I'm saying the rhyme, I know I'm going to have their voice behind me during little pieces just to add the flavor, as if I was choosing my hype man or something. And so all that's in my head. Where can I get the samples from? Do I have the record, right? And if I don't, I'm going to be honest with you, I'll take the shit off of YouTube if I have to. If I'm not going to order the fucking record online. I know some people will go to that extent. I won't. You know what I mean? I'll find the shit. I've owned it. I don't care. I'll take it now because I've owned it in the past. And so I'll take all that shit. I'll take all the sounds. But all that's happening here first. So before I turned on the machine, I've already thought about how I'm going to be doing all this stuff, right? So now all I got to do is go through the motions and have the technology catch up with the creation, And what's great about machines like this is because there's a visual representation in my head, and I know that I have 4 banks. I know that each bank has 8 pads, and I know the amount of time that I could stretch that 10 seconds across all those pads, the 8 times 4 pads, right? The 32 pads. So I know that I could technically stretch and have little seconds, but I also know I could move it, and I could have maybe 1 second, full second on a pad, and then only 0.3 seconds on another pad. So I got to keep the mathematics of that, what space and time I have. So I have this amount of space and I have this amount of time, and it's all mathematics with this SP. But the great thing about the limitation of only having 32 banks, you can't have 33. There's nothing you can do to have 33. You only have 32. It's not like one of these new machines where you can have 10 million, right? I've got that limitation. I've got the time limitation of how many seconds I could sample, but that allows me to work within the time frame, a creation in my head that I can walk around with the ideas, right? I'm not stepping into some fucking Pandora's box of confusion when I turn this on, because I got so much time and I got so many different approaches and so many ways to tune every sample. I get to do the creation here, and then I just use the tool here. I can't overload the shit. So I got to be real concise with what I'm creating and the samples I'm choosing and the approach I'm taking. I got to be concise because I don't have all the options in the world, and I got to work with what I have. So when I set up the creation here, keeping in mind that the tool that I'm using is here, right? I can make the whole damn beat before I sit down to do before I even turn the machine on. I can do everything in my head first. Anybody could, like anybody who's making beats, you could do it all here, and then you live it out here. And then the beautiful thing is that then when it goes from here to here, this is when the happy accidents happen, right? This is when the time constraints, you couldn't fit those samples together because it didn't work out the way you thought it would in your head. You didn't have quite enough time. It didn't land perfectly. And whatever is going on with that, that all happens. But it's like, you have these happy accidents that kind of like, they traverse what you had thought into something that now you've created. And almost like Jimi Hendrix guitar or something, like the machine or the tool that you used between you and the final product, that tool almost had its say, right? It had its say because it gave you the limitations that you're working with. It kind of created it with you, because just like how a guitarist will be thinking about what they can play, they're thinking about the parameters that exist or what's possible with their tool or with their instrument, right? That's the same thing that we're doing here. So if you have one of these new machines or you're using a program, the downside to that is you're not really in harmony anymore, because you're dealing with something that's much smarter than you. It has more seconds in it than you could possibly ever sit and create and think of up here, right? More seconds than any person really ever should or would need to make an organic piece of music, right? So it's a slippery slope, my friend. It's not like a... So anyway, I figure that since I don't have the time to organize these videos or really share the philosophy in an organized way, I don't know if y'all know this, but I put time into that shit in the past. I used to select my samples first, decide what I was going to do, all before I turned on the camera. You know what I mean? And so that way, when I was doing the beats for you guys, I'd at least have something valuable to communicate besides just me just getting busy. So not being able to do it at that level anymore, I think it's nice with this new computer. If I'm able to do this and make it look good in an easy way for me, I can come and I can share. So here's the word. I'm pretty much going to stick to the script when it comes to live videos and stick in the lab and do this in the lab. So if I'm not doing it, having something to do with one of my builds or talking about some topic, then it's going to be dealing with, the SP-1200, right? Or, if I can stream live, dealing with the records, right? Anything music related, right? Or, I always keep, they're not always the same ones, but I always keep some video games or arcade machines in my little studio area here. So if I can stream from this shit and y'all can watch it, then maybe I can catch up with y'all more often. All right. And that's it for today. I got to go put out some fires. But let me know how that looked. I know it's probably not beautiful or perfect, but if it'll work, I'm going to be able to get on here, I promise, at least once a week so I can start making good on all those subscribers and followers from all these years who I've been kind of leaving in the dark for the last 3 or 4 years. All right, y'all. It was good seeing you. I'm going to hit up the comments later and say peace. Hopefully this worked out okay and y'all could see me. All right, y'all. 1.